There was that quote from Gerard Malanga, and I just kept the line, "I want to be a machine." I knew that was the beginning of something. And then I thought, how can I make an image that works with that song? The only way I could do it was by ripping things up and reassembling them.
At the time I discovered your music and the visuals, I really felt it was something that was vernacular, something that used the language of our own landscape.
It was a reinvention of American stuff, or reassessment of it from an English point of view or British point of view. When any powerful cultural force comes over, it sweeps everything else away. And what you have to do during a tidal wave like that is look around and see what's still floating and then latch onto it. Otherwise you sink. Everywhere there was a feeling that things have to happen on the street again somehow, because everything had gone off away from the street. So there was a whole ongoing future that seemed to be coming available, but it hadn't been realised yet. I was trying to put the bits together to make it happen. I think the beginning of Ultravox was predicated on that thing that was about to manifest itself. It was devastating, really, in a way. Not so much leaving the band, but abandoning all that stuff. I'd written all the songs and done the imagery and invented all that. And I thought, I've got to abandon it, really, because I don't want to be in a band. You know, it's too confining and too irritating. I found a suit in an Oxfam shop, and it was a grey suit, and I thought, that's perfect, because it's the opposite of being on stage and being the centre of attention. Then you could disappear. If you wore a grey suit, no one would look at you twice. And it was quite wonderful to somehow just be anonymous. I was taking hold of what had been happening to me and then walking along out of it into another era. I still have dreams about walking through areas that are half ruined, and then they become renovated. And that's my life.
One of the things, especially after the Metamatic period, was this huge explosion of colour around the garden and tracks like Endlessly. To me, it was a revelation. Suddenly, your world was really joyful. Was there a reason for that specifically happen, and that colour palette suddenly coming into the visual side?
Yeah, I went to Italy and saw the sun. After years and years of a very grey London and Manchester and Chorley and the North, which I love in its own way, it was a great thing to, swim in a blue sea and eat wonderful food and look at beautiful buildings. I just felt like enjoying myself and enjoying life.
One of the things that people will be surprised about when they look at the book is the amount of traditional drawing.
I was completely inarticulate, Lancashire lad. The only articulate skill I had was in drawing. And that became a way of thinking as well, a way of remembering things, a way of thinking, working things out. It's not until something comes along that tries to supplant the original thing that you begin to understand the proper properties of the thing that's in danger. And drawing was in danger. Figurative art was in danger all the time I was at art school. I was despised for being a figurative artist. And I thought, fuck you, I'll get on with it, because this is uniquely interesting. That was a frosty window in Canada, -4 degrees, I think, in the morning with the sun coming through it. So I took a photograph of that, and then when I put it with that face, the colour doubled in intensity, and you get this magical effect like stardust. Then there's gold leaf as well, which I used to use a lot of. That tungsten lighting is so rich, it's so intense, but the colour and what it does to something like gold leaf is nothing short of gorgeous. I think the best things are stolen. You have to look around and grab what's beautiful and run off with it. There's no such thing as originality. I think your originality comes from the choices you make of what's gone before. That becomes original. Well, this is the yearbook. My old friend from art school, Ben Casey, Ben ran an agency called The Chase, which had become quite big. I just sold the studio and decided to stop being a pop musician. And the instant I did that, I got a phone call from Ben saying, "Can you do a piece of work for me?" And I suddenly became a graphic artist. All by accident. I've always been interested in sculpture since I was about 6. Many years later, I realised that the digital world had crept up on me. Photography, music, the whole lot had become digitised, which was great fun. You could do a lot with it, but I wasn't touching anything. It really pissed me off. I got angry with myself for falling for all that hoax. So I went on a sculpture course, and as soon as I hit that piece of stone with a chisel, it was like being reconnected with humanity and history and memory. I just felt connected to the world again. The notebooks are my brain, really. That's why it's very small and kind of scruffy. I would just jot ideas of any kind, notes and drawings and things. Beauty. Well, my idea of it is something that's unassailably moving, unsentimental, dignified enough to survive in a rough world, a way to keep yourself happy against the odds. If you make a recording or an image, it'll live longer than you. These things will live on, and they need to be distilled into something which I'd call beauty, that you would be proud to see in 100 years' time, and it would still have some relevance to people.